Welcome back to the Laminate Healing Podcast, where laughter meets inner peace. We're your host, Shaka.
And I'm Kiana.
And I just want to thank you for tuning in for another episode.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the persons that like and subscribe the podcast already. And if you're new here, we encourage you to hit that subscribe button so you be notified when we have another episode dropping. Before we dive into the new topic this week, we want to issue a disclaimer that we are not licensed mental health professionals, right? Or any medical professionals. So our content does not substitute for professional advice or any attention that you may need.
Absolutely
okay,
not.
so just want to make sure that we issue that disclaimer. And thank you everyone that sent your comments and feedback from our last episode. And if you didn't get a chance to watch, go back and hit, check out the episodes after this one. Boy Mom, we did a good one on that one, so definitely make sure you check that out, especially if you're a boy mom. And also we did the episode on nutrition, which is really, really good as well. So let's dive into today's episode. What are we talking about today, Kiana?
So today we're talking about Caribbean mental health matters. We're talking about mental health, and we're pumped about it because I know within our community, mental health is a taboo subject.
Sure.
However, we are going to talk about it. We're going to bring awareness, and we're going to also bring about information that you may or may not know. Like, for example, in the Caribbean, it's mental health is a complex and often complex things to deal with. Like sometimes, we're so used to the vibe that we bring, like the chill vibes. Like,
Yeah.
when people think of the Caribbean, they think, oh, chill time, fun, warm weather, good vibes, good food.
True.
But there's another aspect to that. There are issues that we're faced with that oftentimes either worsen our mental health state or does not treat our mental health. So we're going to talk about all of that. So jumping right in, let's talk about the stigma and the cultural beliefs. Like I was saying, mental health is prevalent in many Caribbean societies. However, because we're viewed as a resilient people, we're a strong people.
Yes.
For many generations, we've had to be. That's how our people survive.
Slavery, once again.
It all goes back to slavery, and it's just, and colonization. Let's not forget that. So the stigma around it is that we're a strong people. So we expect that whatever life hits you with, you have to push through. You have to figure out a way to get by.
That's true.
And oftentimes when someone is struggling mentally, because it's such an invisible illness, mental health is seen as something invisible. You can't see it. It doesn't matter. Like I can share personal experience. Like, someone who's dealt with like severe anxiety. I remember one time I was going through a particularly stressful time in life, and I just couldn't get a handle of my anxiety. Like I've had anxiety forever, but it was manageable. I was able to, like, whether it's with deep breathing exercises, whatever it is, I was able to push through. But then there was a time where I couldn't, and I saw myself as being so weak.
Yeah.
So the belief is so ingrained in us is that sometimes we even view ourselves as weak.
Yeah.
So there's external factors as well as internal factors, because your family and friends might minimize what you're going through.
That's true.
And you can also do that to yourself. So stigma and cultural belief impacts us greatly when it comes to controlling or even treating our anxiety.
Yeah.
But like I said, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to work on this together as a community.
Yeah. So another thing that can definitely affect our mental health, especially in the Caribbean community or even the Caribbean American community, is limited resources and limited access to care. So especially coming from the Caribbean, being a Caribbean person in America, we do not focus on mental health care. Right now, physical care, we care more about, not as much.
Yes.
We want to care even more, right?
Yes.
But as Kiana mentioned, being an invisible disease, it's like it's it's not important. So we have a shortage of mental health physicians, therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, right? And that in turn, leads to us not taking care. Because if you don't have a doctor to treat this thing, how is it going to be treated? If we don't have a mental health facility, right? How on earth could you treat it? So those things are limited in our community, hence making this situation even worse, right? So that's why we want to bring about that awareness today, to talk about the things that we might need to even help us in our mental health journey, right? Another thing too, living in rural areas, that could definitely affect, because some rural areas don't even have a hospital or good care to any good medical care in general. So if you're not meeting those basic needs, and I think that's one of the things that affects us, is that we're like, well, we need to focus on the basic things first before we get to the next thing. And but everything is important, because sometimes when you fix the mental thing, then that might be the cost for the physical thing. True. And we're not even looking at it in that way.
That is so true. That's good.
So that's that's one thing that affects us in our journey.
Absolutely. And that's a really good point about fixing the mental, because I know for a fact, like with anxiety, it gives you so many physical symptoms. It's more than just a feeling. You might have like heart palpitation and all that stuff. But the next thing I want to talk about is something that we can't even control, which is natural disasters and trauma. Many Caribbean countries are prone to natural disasters. You know, year after year, people are like preparing like their countries, their homes for hurricanes, earthquake, and that is something you have to do. And you can't even change that, because you can't choose the location of the island. That's something outside of your control.
Yes.
And dealing with that, and the anxiety that comes with that, and the depression, and even the PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, because you're witnessing firsthand damages to your homes, to the lives of many people, and it's devastating. So I remember like my first hurricane and how scared I was. Like I remember just being terrified, because we're from in the Caribbean, it wasn't prone to receiving hurricanes. And I just remember being so afraid. And that's something people have to deal with year after year. And it's sad. And that's something that, we don't talk about, and the ramifications of dealing with that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, like, I to have to deal with something over and over, that is definitely traumatic. And we're, once again, you talk about being resilient people, is that we're like, oh, well, we're used to this. And people are like, oh, we're used to this. But not because you're used to something, that don't mean it doesn't affect you, right? So definitely dealing with natural disasters definitely affects us. Also, economic inequality, basic money, right? Money causes a lot of mental health problems, right? But it doesn't mean that we can get help, because a lot of people say, oh, well, this is rich people thing. Dealing with mental health is rich people thing. Oh, or when you're in a better place. But because they're just maybe because they're in a better place financially, that they're able to focus on the other things. Right. And if you're able to focus on the mental things, once again, that might help you get right to fix all the other things that you need. Right. So definitely dealing with financial hardship definitely affects your mental health. And we know that is something that that affects us, and may make it harder to seek care. But it's not like before. Money helps. But that's not an end all be all. You can have resources that doesn't even require money to assist you. So definitely that's something you want to consider.
Absolutely. And superstitions. The minute something is wrong, a lot of times people blame it on voodoo, obia. It's always something more that meets the eye. So that belief of always thinking that it's some other forces that's causing you to have this invisible illness,
True.
a lot of times prevent people from, like, you know, talking about it or even admitting that, hey, I struggle in this area. So, like, I remember growing up and witnessing people who had like mental health issues. And I remember, well, at the time, I did not have the language for it.
Yes.
But looking back, I'm like, that is mental health.
Yes. Yes.
So that's something I can say, you know, growing up, I was told, you know, oh, it's because this person did them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
meaning obio, because, you know, do.
Yeah, obio.
Or voodoo, however you call it, different countries, different things. But yeah, definitely is something that, once again, having that education definitely helps. And that's what I want to mention as well. Education, right? That plays a big role in mental health and mental health awareness, and affects your mental health as well, right? Having education is great, but what does it take to get there, right? Because as in a Caribbean community, especially in a small community, academic stress is a big deal, because it's not just what you do, it's how you perform, but it's how you perform, and that somehow reflects on your family, and that puts stress on you. For example, a child writing common entrance, as we call it back home, or CXC, and all those different things, and they're studying now to make sure that they do well, and because your mother want to, brag about you, your dad want to brag about you. So now this child is stressed out, right? Because they got to perform well academically. So especially being in a small community, that could definitely affect our mental health when it comes to being a youth and education, right?
And then a big one is government. The government have to play their role, you know, in terms of policies and advocacy, because at the end of the day, you know, the tax dollars are going to them, and they're in charge of building infrastructure such as clinics, making mental health care treatment much more accessible, as well as just promoting awareness throughout the regions and stuff like that. Because it's so crucial to raise awareness, because that's what will reduce the stigma and secure resources for mental health services.
Yeah. So also migration, that definitely affects your mental health, and any change in like your community, or any kind of displacement, whether you wanted to do it or not. Because moving from one place to another, it really affects, because you don't know where, you don't know that place, you don't know that area. Coming from a small community, moving to a big place, that could definitely affect you, right? That can definitely bring fear and absolutely contribute to your the deteriorating of your mental health. So being in new environments, so all of these things definitely contribute, and you want to take notice of that. A lot of times people would say, especially over here, well, back home I didn't have this, and back home I didn't have that. Well, think about it. You change your environment. We're not just super strong people, and even though you move from one place for betterment, things could affect you. And it could be basically just being different, being the only black person at a place. Those things affect you, and and sometimes you don't know why, but it could be just a change in environment, being in a new place, not understanding. So once again, having that change, migration, that definitely affects your mental health as well.
Absolutely.
So how can we address these challenges in the Caribbean or Caribbean American community?
Absolutely.
One thing we want to do, obviously, raise awareness, right? That's something that we always say, and that's what we're doing here. Our podcast is to always just raise awareness. Yes, we're not medical professionals, but we're going to talk and we're going to advocate, because mental health is serious, and it's very serious in our Caribbean community, and we need to talk about it, right? It cannot be a taboo. It cannot be a taboo topic anymore. We need to speak out, and we need to be aware. We need to increase our resources, right? Have more therapists, more mental health clinics.
Absolutely.
Right? We have a lot of people going to school, doing, studying these things, and then now they come out, we not doing nothing with these degrees or stuff like that. Come on, we really need to invest in our community, because if we fix our mind, we can fix other things. A lot of people say, well, oh, you know, this is just this kind of people. No, we need to change that mentality, and we're going to bring awareness, and we need to bring awareness. So it's important for us to talk about these things and understand what we can do to better this situation.
Yes, and we also need school-based mental health programs that teaches children early so that they can, you know, have better emotional well-being. They can manage stress better, as well as seek help when needed. You know, by knowing these things from an earlier age, you're able to manage that and able to get help much sooner. And also by training teachers, you know, to look for these things in students, they're able to intervene at an earlier time as well, so that once again, if kids are in need, they can get the help they need as soon as possible.
Correct.
Because a lot of times, you know, kids spend a lot more time with teachers outside of their family, outside of their parents.
Yes.
And the most important thing that we need is compassion for each other, compassion for ourselves as well. Because if you're going through a difficult time, you're not alone, and nothing is wrong with you. You know, you may need help, you may need support, but nothing is wrong with that. Because if your arm was broken or your leg, you will go to the hospital to get treatment. You will go and get care. You will go and get whatever it is you need. So same thing with your mind. Your mind is a part of your body. Mind, body, soul. And it's important that we treat and care for our mental wellness as well, because it is a part of us. And when our mental health is intact, our whole body can follow. So pay attention to stuff like this.
Yes, exactly. So that's something that we always echo, is to have compassion, love, right? Definitely want to ensure that you have that, because when you understand somebody's situation, you're more likely to show care, and they're more likely to, you know, to have the trust in you, and you're more likely to work it out, right? But if we're not aware, we don't care, well, we're heading in the wrong direction, right?
Absolutely.
So one of our segments that we have on this show is called Things Nice Bad, right? So that's where we talk about something that we both love and we want to talk about and recommend to you, our viewers, right? So today we want to talk about a show. It's called Black Cake. It was a book. Kiana read the book. She's a reader. I'm the watcher. So basically, it's about a Caribbean mother moving to another place, but basically it tells her story after she lost her battle to cancer, leaving her kids basically videos or audios about her real life. It's so interesting, guys. I don't want to spoil it for you, but definitely watch or read the book. It's so good, because you don't know where the story go. And I know, and what I love about it is that we resonate so much, because you know, a lot of it's basically like, you know, your grandmother back in the days left go England, basically, and you don't really know all the story. This is the story.
You know the story.
This is the story, right? So definitely check out Black Cake. It's on Hulu. If you're a reader, you can look for the book, probably on Audible, but it's really, really good. And once again, I'm a listener, so even Audible. What's the other one? Kindle. If you want to read, yeah.
So and the show is on Hulu, by the way. Yes, or wherever you can find
wherever you can find it. Wink. Yeah, but yeah, it's on Hulu.
But yeah, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Lyman and Healing Podcast. Once again, we're not licensed mental health professionals or therapists, and this video was not meant to diagnose or treat any diseases. Nope. We encourage you to seek a professional. And remember, you are not alone in the struggle.
No, you're
not.
And
I hope our transparency in this topic would help someone. And like always, you can leave us any questions in the comments or DM us. We'll be happy to answer and reply to you. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel. Yes. Share it with your loved ones. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell another friend. Bring them all. We appreciate your viewership and your support. And thank you so much for staying to the end and watching us. And like always, Basalam.
See you next time.